Hello, welcome to Module 6 for Quantitative Research Methods. Module 6 is our module on descriptive statistics, and this is going to be broken down into a couple parts. First, we're going to talk about descriptive statistics for just one variable, and then in a part 2, we'll talk about descriptive statistics for two variables. Okay. So, you've seen this before, this is the components of the research process, and we talked a little bit about data in Module 4, and now we're going to talk about the statistics part of data analysis, at least the descriptive part. You saw that three components of data analysis are preparing your data. So coming up with the numerical data or the quantitative data that we need in order to do our analysis. And it's also comprised of descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. The first part now is descriptive statistics. The data analysis is meant to, depending on your research problem, meant to answer 5 important questions. And we will see these questions again and again in this module and also in Module 10, which is our beginnings to talk about inferential statistics. First of all, let's look at questions basically 1 through 3. Descriptive statistics are used to answer questions 1 through 3. Is there a relationship between two variables? Descriptive statistics can help answer that. How strong is the relationship? And in what direction is the relationship? Or what is the shape of the relationship? Inferential statistics takes us farther, allows us to answer the last 4 questions, looking at the magnitude of the relationship. And magnitude is not necessarily how strong it is. Magnitude is related to the effect size. Whether or not we can actually generalize the results from a sample to the population, that's part of our sampling method, but it's also part of inferential statistics. And whether or not we can predict what will happen to the dependent variable given specific or certain values of the independent variable. We can use inferential statistics to answer that question. But going back now to the first 3 questions, let's figure out how we're going to do that. Descriptive statistics are basically, they're just summaries. They're just summaries of information. They happen to be summaries made up of numbers. Social scientists use statistical data analysis to help describe, to help explain, and to help predict salient phenomena. And scholarly journals in any field use advanced statistical techniques, and a basic statistical background will allow you to read and to understand the research of others. It will also allow you to conduct your own analyses, in part because the software does a lot of the analysis for you. But you have to know what the inputs are. And we talked a little bit about that in terms of levels of measurement. You have to know at what level of measurement your variables are measured in order to run the appropriate statistics. Statistics in general is just a collection of methods for planning experiments, obtaining data, and then analyzing, interpreting, and drawing conclusions based on the data. Things that we use descriptive statistics for, well, we use them to talk about our sample. We use them to talk about our results. This is an important graphic because the statistics that we can use are dependent on the things that come before it in the research process. Research question drives the design. Your research design drives how your variables are measured, and that measurement leads us to what statistics can be used. Let's review for a moment level of measurement. Recall these 4 different levels of measurement. Important to remember here are that the nominal and ordinal levels of measurement are categorical. And these words will come up again as we talk about the statistics that we're using. Interval and ratio levels of measurement are numerical. The values for the variable are numbers, they're quantitative. Whereas the values in nominal and ordinal are things like names. They drive what analyses we can use. And they drive the descriptive statistics that we can use as well. So, we use, in an article, we use descriptive statistics to summarize information about the people or the subjects of the study. We use descriptive statistics to analyze relationships between variables. Recall strength and direction between two variables. You'll see many different symbols in statistics, and it's important to know that anytime we're talking about the population, we use parameters. Anytime we're talking about the sample, we use the word statistics. And you'll see a lot of different Greek letters. You've already been seeing Greek letters. The parameters are typically Greek letters. And so if you see Greek letters, you're talking about the population, or the researcher's talking about the population. You see Roman characters, they're typically talking about the sample. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, we're going to be talking about descriptive statistics, and one descriptive statistics is the simple average, or a mean. When we talk about the average, or the mean for the population, you might see mu used. This is the population mean. But when we're talking about a sample mean, you might see just x used. Sometimes you'll see sigma used. Sigma, small sigma, is standard deviation for the population. Whereas a simple s is typically used to stand for the standard deviation in a sample. I don't want to get too caught up in the symbology of statistics. But it's important to understand when you see these symbols in a research article what they are referring to. Okay, so as I mentioned, descriptive statistics are used to describe variables. They're used to describe samples, and they can be used to look at relationships between variables. So right now, we're just going to talk about describing one variable. You can use statistics to present quantitative information in a manageable form. So taking large amounts of information and simplifying it in a sensible way. That's what I like about descriptive statistics. Also, descriptive statistics helps us to get to know our data a little bit. And so these are the items that we need to know in order to understand our data. The shape of the data, whether or not we are able to use certain data analyses. Why else do we care? Descriptive statistics allows us right away to see if we have any outliers or any extreme scores in our data. And then, once you figure that out, you have to decide what you're going to do with those. For instance, on a student satisfaction survey, when you ask about the satisfaction with parking, that's usually an outlier in the negative direction. And so you have to decide in your presentation of the data how you will present that, how you will visually represent that outlier. Sometimes outliers could be the most interesting part of the data. You just have to think about it. You have to think through it. There are four major univariate, which means one variable, four major descriptive statistics that are used to describe one variable. Those are the central tendency, dispersion, distribution, and measures of position. All of these characteristics would be used to describe each variable in the study. So let's start off with central tendency. This ends this part of the module's presentation. Please move on to review the next part